Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 5 of Thursday Night Lights, brought to you by the Patio, Grubs and Suds here in Wellston, Ohio. As always, we're live here at that location. It's starting to get darker a little bit earlier. Hard to believe it's already week 7. Homecoming week this week, though.
Week 7, yeah. It's great. Athens comes to town tonight, or this weekend, so it's going to be a big game tomorrow night for Athens. I know a couple of years ago they came to town, and then we had a win the TBC a couple of years ago, and they got away from us. So them coming to town, it's a big game. They got a good quarterback, they got a good program. They've lost some games this year, but they've been close. They're a good team. It's going to take everything they got to beat them.
Yeah, from the looks of things, it looks like they got the offense kind of going in the right direction.
Right.
But hey, that's what each game for the Rockets at this point on is a TVC championship game, each and every one of them, and we gotta win every game. That's just how it is, and that's exactly what the coaching staff and the players are looking forward to doing from here on out. So, but Athens is a good team. Homecoming week, a lot of things going on, a lot of festivities, a lot of distractions, but I'm sure they got the Rockets focused in on the task at hand.
Yes, there's a lot of pride on the line right now for both teams. I'm surprised, the Rockets have come out this week. Still with Athens and have a nice homecoming win.
Yeah, they're definitely going to be motivated. And, of course, Athens, similar outlook to the season so far as well. So, kind of got off to a rough start. But as of late, offense really seems to be clicking. Braden Young's having a lot of success throwing the ball, which is something we're used to seeing out of Athens. Of course, I got Alex, I think Piro is how you say his last name, at the running back position. We'll go with that. Somebody will correct me if I'm wrong. So they've got some good things going. At TVC outlook so far this year in the season, for the season right now, we're sitting at Vinton County and Nelsonville tied and for first at 6-1 each. Of course, we're tied with Athens, so those are two big games, like you said, Nate. We're kind of fighting it out for second place in the TVC. Nelsonville, Vinton County, it's kind of what everybody expected to be, fighting it out for first place.
Right.
So I think that's probably going to be game of the week. It'll be interesting to watch that. Alexander in third place at 2-5, Meg's 1-6 in fourth place, and of course River Valley 0-7. So we're talking about TVC recap. I want to go back to the Vinton County Wellston game a couple of weeks ago. Of course, we won that pretty big, but we were surprised at the athletes that River Valley has. They're a young team. They're definitely in a rebuild phase. But they've got some skill position players coming up that are going to be a force.
Just look at them on the field. They look like they could beat anybody and play with anybody. But you can tell pretty quick that they're young and they got a lot of growth, but a lot of potential too.
Yeah. And of course, looking at Wellston, you can see what a year of growth does. We were that team last year. We were a young team, a lot of sophomores. Those sophomores now grew into juniors. That's a big junior class. I think we've got 15 juniors on this team now. That all of them had a year of varsity starting experience from last year. And that's really starting to show. Of course, later on, we'll talk to Seth Lambert's here. We'll get him on the show. He had a big game against River Valley. We'll go over his stats later on. Hunter Brown, I think, is supposed to be here too. So we'll talk to those guys. And, of course, Coach Graham, our third segment, he'll come up and go through the last couple of weeks and talk to him about what the game plan is for Athens. Going back to Week 5, there's just doing some quick recaps. Nelsonville picked up a win Week 5 against Bexley. I don't know anything about Bexley. That's a little bit out of our area. I know they're a D3 school, so a little bit bigger school than Nelsonville. But again, Gavin Richards, I think, had 165 yards on the ground in that game. Bexley's quarterback, Jackson Fry, was 15-29 for 174. No touchdowns, but threw 2 picks. So I'm sure 2 picks helped Nelsonville out there. And, of course, Vinton County picked up a big one over Athens. Parker Schonborn threw a TD pass to Owen Heyer with 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Athens' Leo Martin then returns the ensuing kickoff, 82 yards for a touchdown. So it looked like it was going to be back and forth, but Vinton County pretty much pulled away. And we've talked about Vinton County's defense all year. That seems to be their bread and butter. I mean, their offense is nothing to sneeze at by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just so hard to score on those guys.
Coach Phil's been up there. Coach has 40 years of football experience, and he's coached with a lot of big-time programs, and he lives and breathes football. So when he comes to a football facility or when he comes into a game, he's going to be prepared. There's going to be no one more prepared than Coach Phillips as the defensive coordinator, I can tell you that. And so you look at Athens, too, and Athens, that game was a lot closer to the score. I think Vinton County scored a touchdown late in that game to kind of make it look like it was a little more lopsided than what it was. Athens is a good team. They got athletes. So we're going to have to do our very best to step up. I know, of course, 2 weeks ago we always talked, we get through those 3 games. We get through Fairland, course, with West uninjured and be able to go to TVC healthy, and then we got a really good chance to fight for TVC, which we made through these 3 games. We took care of Alexander pretty easy. We took care of River Valley, but Johnny Scott, starting quarterback, broke his hand second quarter. And then you bring in Mason Collins, who's never played quarterback before in a game that I know of varsity. He played pretty well, but then you go to Nelsonville, which has been the team to beat the last couple of years. They just have a good program. And then West Bricks comes out. West does a good job. I mean, they come out of that game, and like we were impressed with how that drive went. The line did a great job. They took care of Nelsonville's defensive line, and then Richards, the linebacker, who had 28 tackles I think the last 3 games coming into that game. Our guys did a good job handling it, Richards, and we drove the ball right down inside the 20-yard line on the first drive, and then we had that bad snap and then turned the ball over. And then kind of there was still, even though that score was as lopsided as it was, there were some positive things to take from that game. But the one thing I can say is West Briggs has a bright future as a quarterback. Yeah,
next man up. I mean, obviously he's prepared and he's ready to go. Right. And you got to be, because you never know when the next play somebody goes down. You got to be ready to go. So I'm happy to see him out there, doing what he can do as is he a freshman? Freshman. So I mean, that's pretty awesome. So.
He's probably 6'2" or 6'3".
Yeah, he's a big kid.
Kind of looks like Big Ben out there.
Yeah.
Towers above the huddle when he's out there. So a lot of potential. Of course, Johnny comes back. He's a junior, so it's going to be a decision for the coaching staff next year. Is like, how do you handle this from a perspective? I mean, you're going to have to be competitive and get the right guys in the right spot. It's a good problem to have when you got a young guy like that who shows the potential. But now he is a freshman coming in. You got Athens coming in for the home game. There's a lot of pressure. But the one thing that I noticed at Will or Wes is he didn't seem rapid this game. So it's going to be exciting to see what he can do, because he can change the game in a different way than Johnny. Johnny could attack it as an athlete. He can run the ball. Of course, Big Ben, Wes, not going to run the ball as much, but he can throw the ball around. And he's really accurate on his throws. And so he can spread the field out. And, so
we still got a lot of targets out there.
Yeah.
There too. Mm-hmm. So a lot of positive things to look at for the Grubs.
There is.
He played very well, and I don't think people, if you don't understand football to the depth that we study it sometimes, of course, coaching staffs, to put in perspective, what this kid did as a freshman, I don't think he's played a lot of football up to this point. So he's pretty much a new player coming in a high-stakes game. I mean, this is a game that really mattered for Wellston as far as trying to get in and shock some people in the TVC we talked about on our last episode. But for him to come in, he was just about the same efficiency as Johnny Scott was passing. Johnny Scott was right around 50%. Usually just a shade over 100 yards with a couple scores. So West comes in, goes 46%, 116 yards, 2 touchdowns. So he did have a pick, but that arguably couldn't be credited to him because it was kind of tipped. It was tipped off the wide receiver, couldn't come down. It threw a little bit behind him. It was Evan Canner, he kind of had to turn this way and try to catch it. Ball gets tipped up and intercepted. But other than that, man, for a freshman to come in and like you said, Nate, stay poised, very controlled. This is a kid that we can develop, and it's going to have some good things going on. Another bright spot in that Nelsonville game, we finally got Josh Clarkson back. We were hoping we'd have him the week before that, and the doctor said, let's wait another week. So he comes in, he's playing with we call him a club hand. He's got the half cast. Sorry, I'm having trouble with my microphone here. 2-finger cast because of boxer fracture or whatever. What happens? He's on defense and gets Mekhi Williams throws a bullet right to him, and old Josh gets it right in the hands and just can't catch it. He might have had a pick 6 on that. He had an awful lot of room to run, but it's nice to see him out there. So we did lose Johnny Scott. We get Josh back, and then Josh comes back later on and blocks an extra point, which is almost unheard of. So nice to see Josh back. So there's some good things going on in Wellston football still. But the story of the Nelsonville game, of course, we'll talk to Coach Graham about this later, and I'm sure he'll tell us how guys pay for this kind of stuff. But it's self-inflicted wounds. It's penalties. We had, for the first time, we've not had any snap issues hardly at all year. And then the first drive of the game, drive down inside the 20, and the ball gets launched about 10 feet over West Briggs' head. And I think Nelsonville recovered it after a loss of about 30.
Yeah, and that's tough because you got, of course, a quarterback that hasn't played much. You got a center. Quarterback and center, that relationship is built over the summer. A lot of time, just snaps. Whether it's in scrimmage or just on the sidelines, you just take the snaps, building that relationship and that chemistry. And it's not easy when you, as a freshman quarterback, come out there and then just trying to step into that role. And of course you've got a different cadence. Everything's different with a quarterback back there. So it's to be expected, that you are going to have some hiccups like that. So And the one thing that we talked about on the radio is like, hey, first thing I got to do is get those guys on the sideline and snap the ball in between all these plays. And that's one thing we did see over there. They're working on that. So it's all correctable things. But the problem is that when you play a team like Nelsonville, a traditional team that is well coached, they know how to play fundamental football. You make mistakes on them, and they're going to make you pay for it. And that's, at the end of the day, we could play with them, and we showed that we come out and drove the ball down the field on them. There was times we moved the ball on them, we stopped them on defense. I mean, we played pretty good at times. And then there's these little plays, little mistakes we make to kind of shoot ourselves in the foot, but the potential's there. And then, coming into Athens tomorrow night, you've got to just come out and just play like Fred. And just come out and just give it everything you got and just have fun.
Yeah, not necessarily worrying about the opponent, but just execute what you know you need to execute.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's key, I think, a lot of times. Sometimes, as a kid, you get kind of in your own head about who's ahead of you instead of, knowing what your job is at the current moment, So just locking in and executing your job, everybody doing their job, that's going to put you in a pretty good spot at the end of the day, because we got some talent, we got some big guys, we got a nice line. Sounds like we got a new up-and-coming quarterback. It's got a lot of potential, so I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do this Friday night. And hopefully we can get Clarkson back without a cast so he can catch the football.
He should have it off, I think, for the Vinton County game.
Okay.
So he'll have it the rest of the season until then. But, of course, I'm interested to talk to Seth here later on because he's pretty much been the workhorse guy in the backfield for the Golden Rockets.
Our line has been.
They play pretty well.
Of course, our offensive line is our defensive line too, so they play both sides of the ball, and they really handle Nelsonville. There's a lot of series where they really just took it to Nelsonville, a really good coached football team, and we dominated them. And there's moments of domination that we showed on both sides of the ball, and hopefully we can just keep that confidence. And like Jordan said, just do your job. Don't worry about who you're playing.
Yeah.
Just do your job. And just don't make the mental mistakes.
Yeah, it seemed like back to the Nelsonville game. After that first drive, we had that bad snap. And then coming out on defense, we stop them on defense. And this is an example of just things going wrong against you. I think it was Bennett Yadernachek. Well, yeah, he got hit of the game for this play. Sacks Makai Williams, forces Makai Williams to throw the ball away. It's an intentional grounding. And it should have been a loss of, I think, about 20 on the play. And the referees mistakenly didn't treat it as a spot foul as it is. So it brings up, I think, 3rd and 12. And it should have been about 3rd and 37. Yeah. And that's, after a bad snap, then you come out and you have something like that happen. That could have changed the whole complexion of the game just in that one offensive-defensive series.
We've seen some questionable refereeing. I know refereeing is tough, and it's easy from the box to sit there and ridicule refs. But the fact that everything just went dead. But the fact that that game there were some really questionable calls. I know Coach Lambert. He was. We could see how red his face was up in the box. And grounding, and they were. I mean, it was just insane. Like how they were just calling the penalties. Like that ended up being a 6-yard penalty.
That was the illegal shift later in the game. Yeah.
So it was like it's insane. Some of the, I know right now the Ohio is struggling like every other state getting referees out there, and from what I understand, they kind of got that crew together the last second. It almost had to couldn't play the game because. And that hurts because you got teams out there fighting for everything you got, and not that they cost them the game, but there's key situations that something like that.
Yeah,
it's hard to overcome.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So real quick before we take a break, just go through week 6. Vinton County picks up a win against Northwest, who we scrimmaged Northwest and pretty much played with them. So Vinton County picks up a win there. Alexander 21-0 over River Valley, and then Athens Megs. This is Athens 48. Megs 27, so Athens starting to throw some points up on the board compared to what they were scoring earlier in the year. So expect that offense to be ready to play when they come to town here. So with that, we'll take a quick break. After the break, we'll get Seth up here. If Hunter Brown's here, we'll have him. I don't see him yet, but hopefully he shows up. Then we'll get Coach Graham on after that. So I'm Matt Petersen with Thank Molihan and Jordan Lackey. We'll be back in just a minute.
Pitch back on 3, 2, 1, and we are there.
All right, Rocket fans, we're back here at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston, Ohio. I'm Matt Petersen, Nathan Molihan, Jordan Lackey, and we are pleased to have special guest this evening, Wellston running back Seth Lambert. Seth, thanks for coming on the show, man.
Thank you for having me.
Good to have
Welcome,
you.
Seth.
Been wanting to talk to Seth for a little while, man. He's been on the cusp of a couple of big games, and he finally broke out against River Valley to back up against Alexander. He was on pace at halftime to have about 140 yards on the ground. He had 70 yards, I think, one play after half. Tell us what happens with your hip.
I think it was just last week. I already had kind of a bruised hip there. I was getting hit wrong every single time, and just one time I just started giving out. It started getting tighter and tighter, and then it started cramping up, and I hit the hole once, and it just tightened up, and I couldn't even hold myself up. It got so bad to the point at halftime, Coach Graham had me get a ball, and he had me sprint 10 yards, and I couldn't even make it 10 yards without cramping and buckling up.
That's problematic. Of course, we were disappointed. We were talking about it in the radio broadcast at halftime. You said, no, here's Seth Lambert. We're finally going to get to see him have a big bust-out 100-yard game. And then we didn't see you the rest of the half.
Yeah.
We were really disappointed. So how did it feel coming back, after that, coming into River Valley? You feel pretty good to start that game?
Oh yeah, I felt great because it was actually questionable if I wasn't going to be allowed to play or not because, they were questioning. They're like, we really need you for Nelsonville. We might not need you for next week. So they didn't want to risk, hurting me even more. But when I got checked out, I was able to sprint fine, I could jump fine, I could do everything fine, and my dad was really excited for it. I was really excited for it. So when it all happened, it was awesome.
Nice. Well, you certainly came out, against River Valley. I think we had you for 14 or 16 carries, 141 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of game. I think you averaged 9.8 a carry or something like that. So fantastic numbers. Of course, on the season, you're still averaging well over 5, about 5.4. We'll have to go and double check those numbers for the year. But if you have a running back that's having that kind of production, you're going to have a pretty successful game. So
Your line first starts off with your line. Of course, I know
Yeah,
you
the
do
line's
better
great.
than any. But I know one thing. I played receiver in high school. One time they put me at running back, and I'd get the ball, and I would run right in the back of the offensive lineman because I was just didn't know how to be patient. And it's tough being a running back. The one thing I really saw that you've grown, I bragged about it on every broadcast, is your patience. Every game you get better and better about being patient because your line does a good job getting holes, and that you do a good job of not just hitting that hole and running the back of your lineman. Because if you do that, of course you're not going anywhere. But you did a good job hiding behind this big lineman, using your size to your advantage, and then as soon as you find just a slip of daylight, you're gone. So
Yeah.
you do a great job of that.
The line's been really good. They've improved a lot this year, and I'm very happy about that. Especially like Gage Goheen and Bryce and Hunter Collins. They've gone great, and I'm not just trying to just pick them 3, but it's the entire O line. They've all improved. They've all gone faster and stronger and bigger, and I'm very impressed with them.
yeah. Well, there's been a lot of times where we've seen they do a good job of getting that push and get you that first 3 or 4 yards. But there's been several plays, and this is another thing I think is so impressive about you, is there's such a strong base in this kid, man. There's several times where he'll, 3 or 4 guys, and he's diving for another 3 or 4
Well,
yards.
that's what I've said, during the broadcast a lot of times. Is like as soon as you get contact, you start driving his legs harder, and
Appreciate that.
that's really a sign of a good runner, good strong runner. Because a lot of times guys will get hit, they go down. You get hit, and his legs start driving faster and harder, and you get another 4 or 5 yards a lot of times, after getting hit. So that's of course that says a lot to your workout routine in the summertime, and then what the effort you put in of course in the season now, and so. Kind of go over your junior this year, right?
Yeah.
So kind of, what's your perspective this season? Kind of, what have you guys done that has surprised you this year?
I mean, we just came back from last season wasn't the best. We were a young team. We came on and off on coaches, and we were very, very young with no varsity experience at all. So coming into this year, winning our first game against Oak Hill, kind of proving that Wilson football is back. And then we had a short, bad 3 weeks after that, but then we came back for the next 2 weeks. We ended up 3-3, and Nelsonville, that was an upsetting game, but it was nice to see that we've definitely improved.
Right.
And I'm very happy about that.
Well, those 3 games, we think, in our perspective, which who are we? But we think you guys have the toughest non-conference schedule in the TVC with Fairland, Portsmouth West, and Medford.
Yep.
Those are good teams, and you guys come through there, and we were excited because you come through healthy, and then of course come into River Valley, and then of course Jonathan breaks his hand when you have your quarterback that is a leader on the team and been productive. He goes out, and then by the way, the next week you're playing defending TVC champions.
Yeah.
It's a tough. It's a tough matchup. But you guys come out. I mean, from the get-go, you drove right down the field. Of course, we had a little snap issue, which that happens. But that's positive things. I can't imagine how good you guys must have felt on that first drive out there.
Oh yeah, it felt great. I mean, we were running the ball like crazy, and we were just the line was being perfect, the handoffs were perfect, the snaps were perfect. It was just that one little mistake, and Johnny was a great part of our offense. I'm
Right.
very upset about him because he was great. He can run, he can throw, he could do it all. And Wes, he's great. I love him to death, and he's going to show a lot of potential. I think he'll be a great quarterback.
Always going to be, yeah. And then, of course, I talked to his mom after the game, and she was just hesitant because she didn't want him to play. She was worried if he played, she didn't want him to play varsity.
Yeah.
And then her dad, of course, his dad is the offensive coordinator, Joe Briggs. He promised her, well, if he does play, it won't be that much varsity. And of course, she's like, well, he started the whole game. Of course, she was a little nervous, but he's a big boy. What is he, like
Oh
6'3"?
yeah, he's
And
big.
If you want to hurt him, you better be a pretty big kid to hurt him. But he played well. He shows good poise. And I know we're missing Johnny Scott not only on offense but defense. He's a big part of that defense. And you guys played a really good team. You guys showed some bright spots. And you got to keep your head up and going to tomorrow night's game. I guess, what's the feel in the locker room?
I mean, personally, I'm excited. I'm sure the rest of the team is. We got, Johnny's back. He's on the club now. Josh is back. He's on the club too. So that kind of puts back some of our good defensive players back. Of course, they're one-handed, but
Also, Johnny's going to be back for defense?
yeah, he will. He's
good.
gonna be able to have a club, which
Good.
is it's very nice to see. But I mean, I think we're all excited. We've all been watching film. We've all been looking over, and I think we all think that we can win this game, and we're very, very excited about that all.
So that makes a big difference knowing he's going to be back for the game. So that's got to get you guys excited.
Yeah, we're all very, very excited.
I'm kind of hogging you here. Jordan, you got anything you want to add?
No, man. I same thing Nate's seen. I mean, your patience out there as a running back, that's really impressive. I mean,
Thank you.
something I've talked about on all the broadcasts whenever I've been at the games, and also your blocking. For Johnny, whenever he's running the ball, sometimes you get out there and you hold your blocks and you open up holes for everybody, and staying on those blocks are important. So, man, just keep up the good work. You're a hard-nosed kid, I can tell. I mean, I'm proud to have you be a Wilson Rocket, man.
Thank you. I appreciate
So,
that.
Like Jordan said, there's a lot of times we've seen players, it tells you a lot about the character of a player when they're not involved in the play, how hard they're still going for their teammate. And so but a lot of times we see you still, if the ball's not one to you, you're blocking for somebody. On defense, no matter what, you're out there, you get everything you got. So that says a lot about your character.
Yeah, everybody's goal should be the same. We got to score a touchdown every play, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, if your role's the block, you better get your butt out there and get on the block and open up an hole for them, right? So
Yeah.
that's how we all got to look at it, So
Something else I want to get your thoughts on, Seth, is at the beginning of the year, we were kind of seeing a Batman and Robin approach. Of course, you and Josh Clarkson, really good buddies. You guys hang out a lot. How's the complexion of the running back room and just the flow of the offense been without him back there with you?
I mean, it's definitely different because me and him, we rotated in and out a lot. We did drills together, we lifted together. We did everything together just to be good running backs.
Mm-hmm.
And him getting hurt fairly early on in the season, that kind of hurt our rotations a bit. But I think for the most part, I think we've adjusted to it pretty fine.
Mm-hmm.
Still, it's a big key of the offense that we missed out on. He's very fast. He can juke. He can spin. He can do all that stuff, and he can still carry people on his back.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fantastic running back, and a lot of the things that I've learned from him, especially him and Mason Collins. I've learned a lot from those two because I was a running back. I started being a running back halfway through my freshman season. I was a receiver before that, so I learned a ton from Mason and a ton from Josh. So I owe a lot of my skill sets to Josh and Mason.
Well, that's awesome, man. I think what we've missed seeing that we saw against Oak Hill that we thought, this is going to be really effective through the years. You had two separate styles of backs.
Right.
Like you mentioned, Josh is a little more shifty. So it gives the defense a different look, especially on sets where both of you guys are in the game. You really have to, linebackers can't just come with their tails pinned back, ears pinned back, coming after the backfield. You have to be a little bit patient. Without him there, I think the offense, of course, have had to lean on you more. And, of course, defenses now can key a little bit more than they would have normally. But hats off to you, man, because you rose to the challenge. I mean, you answered the bell, and it's been really fun to watch you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
keep it up, man.
So, best of luck throughout the rest of the year. Stay healthy. No more hip issues. We're going to lean on you the rest of the year. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, appreciate it, man.
Seth.
So we will take a break, work out a little bit of a mic issue here with Nate's mic. I'm Matt Petersen, Jordan Lackey, Nathan Molihan. We'll be back in just a minute. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're back here at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston. I'm Matt Petersen with Nathan Molihan and Jordan Lackey. And of course, as always, we try to have Coach Graham. Coach, thanks for coming.
Hey, good to be here.
So we are episode 5, so we got a couple weeks to go over with Coach here. We want to talk a little bit about the last 2 games. We'll start with Alexander. How big was that win coming? Of course, we had a tough stretch there, coming off of Fairland, Menford, and then Portsmouth West, and kind of took a couple on the chin. So then you come out and get a big one against Alexander.
It was a tough one at Nelsonville, obviously. Nelson was always a tough place to play for us for some reason. But we come out pretty strong against Alex. That's been a couple weeks ago, so I'm kind of trying to withdraw.
A little fuzzy.
From
It's all right.
the Valley and Nelsonville. Yeah, it was good. We had controlling the line of scrimmage and doing what we want to do there a little bit. Schultz is a great quarterback for Alexander.
Yeah, he can throw it.
And they had a couple key players out for them offensively, which, was a big key for them, obviously. But we played pretty sound defensively, especially covering the pass. I was a little bit worried about the passing, but we actually, we planned for it and prepared pretty well, and the kids caught on, and everything worked out to our advantage, and I was happy for that. Kids were very excited.
The passing defensive side that impressed me is Mike Weber.
I was just getting ready to say that.
The confidence that he gets every game, and then his ability to stay with his receivers. Alexander, there's 2 times in particular that he was step for step and then knocked the ball down at the last second, keeping a big first down from happening. And I know that's got to feel good for him because he's one of those players that hasn't had a lot of time to play. And then every game you see him get more confident.
Right, he is getting more confident in the corner position. Every week, it's always a big challenge. It seems like every team has this big receiver or whatever, and everybody's trying to match up with him for size difference. But he does a good job holding his ground, and he keeps working. We do drills every week. And he just keeps impressing us every week, getting better.
He's a competitor. He
is
competing in
definitely
every practice. I can tell.
Definitely.
He's a hard-nosed kid.
So, speaking of defense in that game, I think we held Alexander to maybe 6 yards on the ground and just 128 in the air or something like that. So, defense played very well.
Yeah. Braden Myers played a big part in that. We talked about that before. Braden Myers up front, he was making tackles left and right, kind of like he was on PlayStation almost. He was just getting in the backfield where he wanted to, and that was in the second half, or right before the end of the first half. Then they kind of slowed down a little bit. Then other guys started picking it up, so it balanced out pretty well. And Braden had a good game, and ended up kind of reflecting on everybody. So it kind of passed on everybody, and we pulled out that win. It was a good win for us, that's for sure.
He definitely fired everybody up, and of course, moving on into the following week, get River Valley at home. And I think we talked about it a little bit in the first segment. We were kind of surprised with the athletes that River Valley has. They got some quick kids and they're sophomores.
Yeah, they do. They have a lot of good kids. I talked to Coach Coop, like I said, we graduated together, so we talk a lot anyway. His team is young. He does have a lot of good athletes, as you mentioned. And, he's got a bright future, for sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, he's battling the injury bug also, and the numbers issues, kind of the same thing all of us schools here, or Oak Hill.
Right.
Seems like Oak Hill, River Valley, us a little bit, not so much, but a lot of schools are battling the injury bug this time of the season.
We noticed, of course, River Valley's skill guys, not real big, but they had Bradley Childress, number 4. I think he might have been 5'7", if he's lucky, and doesn't weigh a lot, but man, that kid was fast.
Yeah, they had 2 or 3 fast ones.
And Toomey's another guy on the outside.
They ran hard too.
Yeah.
And they kept being competitive and running hard the whole game. They didn't give up. Even when you guys got a big lead, they still ran their tail off, and it was impressive.
It was.
So how tough for you, of course, when Johnny goes down, that's got to be a devastating feeling as a coach because, like you said, injury bugs are huge, and we've talked about it a million times about let's get through the 3 games healthy, get into TVC strong, and then or get into the TVC healthy. And then, of course, we had that game from the get-go. We had control of that game. Johnny, of course, gets his, what was it, a kickoff or a punt?
It's just kind of a freak play. It was actually River Valley had scored, and we went for the field goal block, and he's usually the safety. For some reason, him and Mikey switched, and he come off the end and actually just kind of come in with his non-throwing hand, and as he threw his hand up, he swung around, and he swung and hit somebody in the face mask. Swung his hand around, hit somebody in the face mask, and broke his hand, or actually his
non-throwing hand.
on his throwing hand.
On his throwing hand.
On his throwing hand.
Not what you want on a quarterback.
Yeah.
Not what you want on a quarterback.
Yeah.
And we discussed taking him off several times. So we just said, we'll just put him at safety, and he'd just stand there and kind of move his hands a little bit, but, everybody wants to be part of the action, so he come off the edge, and
It's tough.
that's the same thing happened with Josh Jackson at Oak Hill.
Yeah.
Week 1 playing Oak Hill. I was like, I don't want him playing defense. He's like, oh, coach, I want to play defense. We let him play defense in the JV game, and bam, here it's his shoulder, out for the season.
And we talked about that early in the year. We never thought we'd be here talking about the quarterback situation, but figured that Jackson being hurt might come into play.
Right.
And here we are. Now you lost Johnny, and now you lost Justin. So how much of a blessing has Wes Briggs been, though?
Wes has stepped up. I mean, he's a mature kid. Wes is a very mature kid. I've had him in 7th grade. I've seen him walk in the halls in 8th grade. And when I coached his older brother, he's always been around. So I've always seen him. So he's kind of matured quick.
So I was screaming from the press box, get the big boy in, and so I know Mason, he threw a touchdown pass, so kudos to him, but understanding coming into Nelsonville, they're going to be a good defense. They're going to be disciplined defense. And so I was hoping to see Wes come in the third quarter and maybe play quarterback. So kind of what was going through your mindset there, Coach?
When Wes come in, we were we had Mason in there, and they were kind of, in the River Valley game, we put Mason in. They were bringing the house. So I said, let's throw it. Let's throw it. They don't think he can throw it. So he throws the slant, throws his touchdown.
That's a big throw.
Then we drove the ball back down the other direction later on in the fourth quarter, and I called timeout, and it's 4th down. I said, let's put Wes in, throw a touchdown. And Coach Briggs dialed it up, and we threw the slant to Evan on the backside, and Wes threw that touchdown pass. And he gained a lot of confidence then, which Wes has never been lack of confidence, and he's never had lack of confidence. He's always a pretty confident kid, and that's what you want to see.
Yeah.
You want to see that confidence. We got a lot of confident kids.
Yeah.
As you mentioned earlier, talking to Seth, he's our bell cow this year right now. With the injury to Josh, we leaned on him a lot to carry the load, and along with Mason, so they both kind of stepped it up. And but Seth's doing most of the carrying right now, but we're trying to split the difference between him and Mason.
Mm-hmm.
So everything's working out to plan right now, and we'll just kind of see how it unfolds.
Nice. And something else I want to mention and get your thoughts on is we've noticed since week 1, week 1 I think it was pretty much a 3-man front on defense. 3-4 I think, maybe cover 2. We've seen that develop over the season. Now you guys are doing some more things, and you get Clarkson back and kind of moving him around instead of leaving him just an outside linebacker. Had him playing a little bit of safety. He'd come down. So talk about how this stuff has all transpired.
Well, we have different personnel for different defenses. Like this week, like I said, Johnny's back. I don't think you could take sitting on the sidelines too long. He went to the doctor, and they cleared him to have a club on, so he'll be playing on the defensive side.
That's good.
Yep.
Along with Clarkson.
That's
So we're going to try to mix it up this week and show couple different fronts and some different coverages and change the quarterback's view a little bit. That's the plan.
Nice.
And get some pressure up front, obviously.
one of the reasons I wanted to have Hunter Brown on here is because he doesn't get a lot of tackles and a lot of sacks, but he attracts a lot of attention with his size. So a lot of times I notice him getting double teamed and free up Gage or some of those other linemen. So that's one of the reasons I kind of want to bring him on and kind of course, let him know that, hey, listen, we see what you're doing. We see the attention that you're bringing out there. And the good thing about it is it's all the attention. He's a big athlete. He can move.
Right.
And so he does. Is that something, Coach, that you guys see on film that they try to maybe put a couple guys on him to slow him down a little bit because he is so athletic?
He does attract a lot of attention up front. That's one of the main reasons. He's a big, strong kid, and he doesn't like to get beat. Sometimes he gets in a little bit of pushing matches, and we tell him just throw him off of you. He can get to the backfield but he's like I said, he draws a lot of attention.
Yeah.
Because he is one of the bigger guys on the field, and he's strong as an ox. So
he's
he works at it.
That opens up opportunities for other guys.
Yes, it does.
Trickle down effect there. So.
Well, he's gotten hit of the game twice.
Yep.
The first time was against Minford. He had a great play, had a little bit of a swim move to get inside his end guy that was blocking him and scraped down the line of scrimmage and takes out Jeff Pika, behind the line of scrimmage. So that was a good one. And then against River Valley, we gave it to him again because I think Fulton had a head of steam hit the gap. Only Hunter Brown was in the gap,
there's-
and Hunter Brown didn't move, and Holden laid on the turf for about 3 minutes.
Seth had mentioned our offensive line, and there's one young man that, that puts in a lot of good work and makes a lot of good blocks is Landon Hipes.
Yeah,
He does.
Landon
Number 77,
Hipes,
Landon
he has
Hipes, yeah.
got a lot of airtime, but I wanted to make sure I got him on here because he's our biggest lineman. I mean, he's about 6'5".
he's a large
He
kid.
can move some people. Him and Gates together on that strong side, they move a lot of people. In the River Valley game, they blocked a guy completely across the field out of bounds. I mean, it's like you see on TV where they take a guy and move him all the way across the field out of bounds. And they wanted us to see that. So obviously they get some stickers for that one. But it's pretty impressive. So Landon, like I said, Landon is 6'5". He's quick. He can move, and he's he's a very intelligent kid.
Yeah.
And he pays attention and does whatever you ask.
Let's bring him on next week for sure.
Yeah, we'll definitely get him on. Just talk a little bit about Nelsonville before we go to the break, and then after the break we'll talk about Athens. Of course, I already talked about some of the negative stuff. I don't think we need to go into that, but I think there were still some bright spots. Of course, West Briggs being one of them.
Right. We spotted him pretty much 21 points
Yep.
Yep.
right off the bat. I mean, our game plan was we thought we were better up front, and I think we kind of showed that in the beginning of the game. We drove it, all the way down inside the 20. It was actually like the 17. And then we had that snap, but we were driving the ball pretty much at will, doing what we wanted to do. Then we had that. And then even the second drive was the same thing. They had a missed handoff, botched handoff, and then we had the pick. And, when you give good teams, and Nelsonville's a good team. I believe you can't have those type of mistakes when you're playing good teams. And that's what we discussed all week. And if you want to be competitive against these teams, the rest of the season, you can't have those mistakes. And, we emphasize that. And the kids have been really working hard to try to correct them. And it's just, it's not an overnight thing.
Right.
We're just constantly changing things up, doing things different. And it's little tweaks. It's not major things. If the nose scars are a little quicker each week, what kind of adjustments are we going to make and things like that to give him help so he can, get the snap in, things like that. But Bryce has done a great job for us. He stepped in. Hunter Collins was our center. We figured he would be better as a quick guard for us. So we got Bryce in there snapping. He said he would love to do it and stepped up, and he's done an outstanding job for us. So it was pretty good. And like I said, Nelsonville's a good football team. They run the ball well, as you've seen. They run a lot of ISO. And Gavin Richards is a good running back. Like I said, he's an all-state wrestler. He'd come in, he was a good player. I think he had two TDs, and I'd probably say he had over 100-some yards rushing. I think we kept their quarterback in check for most of the night.
Yeah. I felt like, of course, he's a good athlete too.
Yes,
and
very good.
You guys did a great job containing him.
Yeah.
Well, I thought that was one of the keys to give us the best, opportunity to win that game was to make him beat you.
Right.
Make Mackay beat you, because if you let Gavin Richards loose, and really I felt like other than giving him a short field, we really kept him in check for most of the game. They didn't start having success until they started this. They found something off tackle,
Right.
just a little bit.
They did. We contained that for quite a while. Then when you get down, morale starts to go down a little bit, and you try to keep that morale up after so long. When you give 3 short fields and then they punch it in, you find yourself down 21-0. But we come back 21-6 and then Mikey, I told him, I said, there must be something about Nelsonville.
That into the end
down
zone.
there. Yeah, kicking down Nelsonville. He said he's going to fix it, and I'll tell you what, he was perfect tonight, 20 for 20.
Nice.
Wow.
So,
Looking forward to some good things out of him.
Oh, yeah.
So. Well, with that, we'll talk about Athens after the break. We'll take, about a 30-second break or so, Mike. We'll get back here with you. Matt Petersen, Nate Molihan, Jordan Lackey, and Coach Graham's going to stick around. We'll be right back.
Good.
3, 2, 1.
Okay, Rocket fans, we're back here at the Patio, Grubs and Suds in Wellston, Ohio. Thanks to Keith and Wendy Henry for sponsoring the show. Always want to give them a big shout out and do a great job with the place. Been fortunate to have pretty good weather. Had to cancel last week, unfortunately, because we got rain in the forecast, but tonight it's held off. I don't think it ever rained, though.
Well, Jordan has in his contract, he can't have any kind of high humidity because his hair gets messed up. And you can't get it under control. So that was in his
exactly
contract,
right.
so we definitely had to cancel.
Yep.
So anyway, we made it back.
Absolutely.
We made it back for this evening. And this last segment here, we'll do our game picks last. Before we do that, we still have Coach Graham on with us. Talk to us a little bit about Athens.
Well, Athens is pretty spread. I mean, if you've watched Athens play football, since Joe Burrow was there, they spread it out. And they're getting better. And on film, their record doesn't reflect how they play. They are a good football team.
They are.
They're a good football team. They spread the field out. Quarterback's aggressive. He's a junior. They got a good running game. They got good receivers. So, it's definitely going to be a challenge for us in our secondary, and we're up for it. There's no doubt about it. We're up for it. But give credit to Athens. I mean, they're a good football team. On film, I've got several films on them, and they are good. Their record, like I said, doesn't reflect how they are.
Yeah. Kind of high octane kind of offense.
So come on.
Yep.
I'm waiting.
Yeah.
Now rain. They haven't played on. I don't think they've played on grass. If it's raining or if it's wet, those types of adversities that they may not have faced so far. I think we're supposed to get some rain tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's supposed to rain tonight and early tomorrow afternoon and then quit by game time.
Yeah.
So that could play in our favor.
Possibility. They may run the ball a little bit more.
Like you said, they're a good team, and they're definitely. You look at what they did at Benton County. I mean, like we said, I think before you got here, they took Benton County. That score was the game was a lot closer than the score. And I remember I was talking to Coach Phillips one day. He said, those guys are a good team. And
I guarantee you
it took a lot for us to beat them. And so that says a lot. Them coming in tomorrow night. So, but the good thing is you got Johnny back on defense. That's going to help out a ton.
It'll help us out speed wise. Now we got some guys that's Johnny and Josh are two quarterbacks for our defense.
Yeah.
And then you got Seth and Isaac in the middle for us. I mean, there's 4.0 students in school. They're pretty intelligent kids. They direct traffic well. So we're looking forward to the challenge. And Oak Hill was a predominantly passing team. We held our own. Nelsonville, they're probably about a 50-50 team. I mean, but Athens is more probably 75-25. And their coach does an outstanding job calling the plays. They do a lot of checks at the line. So like I said, we're going to try to mix up some coverages and change his view a little bit to give us a little bit of advantage.
And how much have you guys focused on the week as far as if the quarterback scrambles, be disciplined,
Yeah.
as far as our linemen getting upfield?
We definitely have to contain.
Yeah.
That's for sure. Number 7, I can't remember the quarterback's name offhand.
Braden Young.
Braden Young. He is he's a fierce competitor. I mean, as a quarterback, he'll put his head down and run like a running back. I'm trying to think of the other receivers' names. They got several good receivers. You watch them play Meggs. Meggs is another good team. I mean, so we've got our work cut out for us the next 3 weeks, and we've been preaching that. And it starts this week with Athens. Like I said, they're a tough team.
Wide receiver for Athens, Caden Bukowski,
Yeah.
is a kid to watch for. I think against Alexander, which this would have been week 4. I think he had 146 yards, 2 touchdowns receiving. And of course, the running back's no slouch either. I think that game he had 19 carries, 165, 4 touchdowns. That's at Alex Piro.
Yep.
So they do have some players. I'm interested to see. I think this will be a fun game to watch. I think it's a good matchup for Wellston. It seems like a lot of our games we've either been outmatched or we've outmatched people. I think this is a good one. It's an even. I think we match up well with them on paper. I think a lot of it's going to come down to line play. How well can we control both sides of the ball?
They jet a lot, they bubble a lot, they throw you on the field. That's pretty much what they do, and they run a little bit of option every now and then, some speed option, they run some counters pretty much, but everything's out of spread.
Yeah, they want to spread you out.
And they run a little bit of power.
Yeah. And they've done that for years.
Disciplined defensively, whenever they spread you out like that, I mean, you can get discouraged really quick in some of those situations, and you just got to keep your head a lot of times.
It's like some of those, as you mentioned earlier, we was talking about the break there. Vinton County played Nelson, or Athens, and Athens gave them a rough way to go, and the score wasn't indicative of the game.
Right.
And that's kind of how
Yeah.
I felt about Nelsonville last week.
Absolutely.
Beside us and those 3 touchdown give me's pretty much at midfield.
Right.
I don't think that was indicative. 34 points. I think the game was a little better than that.
Yeah.
And it got a little, later in the game, it got a little sloppier, but in the beginning of the game, it wasn't. So we just kind of shot ourselves in the foot. So hopefully, we got to come out tomorrow, and we talk about to come out and play a full game. We haven't played a full game yet,
Yeah.
from start to finish,
Right.
a full game.
And that's what we've said to a lot of these good teams that we play. There's times when we look really good against a
Right.
really good team. And so, but like, if we can get that full game, man, even if 3/4 of a game, we're going to win, put ourselves in the position to win these last 3 games.
And that's what we've been talking about all week. When we're running and doing our conditioning, because we run twice a week. We still do all of our running. And, we're talking about, hey, you can't get tired, because I think we do get tired. And, when you're playing hard, you do get tired. But I told you, I said, you have Saturday and Sunday to rest. Give everything you got on Friday, and you rest Saturday and Sunday.
Yep.
So the kids are buying in. And like I said, we're learning every week, and they're getting better. And I'm proud of them, put it that way.
Absolutely.
And just got to continue to drive. And like I said, we got a tough 3 weeks starting tomorrow with Athens, and then Meggs, and then Benton County.
Yep.
Doesn't get any easier.
No, but you got a couple at home.
Yes, 2 home ones.
So that's a good one. Then, of course, always get those home ones in before you got to go 10
Homecoming
miles up
tomorrow.
the north.
Oh, yeah.
Play Benton County. Well, Coach, thanks for hanging out with us again.
Thank you, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks, Coach.
Good
Thanks,
luck
Coach.
tomorrow.
Thank you much.
Great
We'll
job
be
this
watching.
season so far, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, so one order of business. We talked to Coach Graham. He's gone. So now we got game picks. And conveniently enough for you guys, I think Mike has lost the official standings.
It was like 16-4.
18-1.
I think 8-12.
Yeah.
12 is what we were at.
So Mike's saying it was 16-4 for the good guys, and then 8-12 over here. So we're not official on those stats on the pick'ems. But for this week, let's start with the big one, man. Nelsonville, Benton County. Who you got?
Go ahead, Nate.
It's at Nelsonville, like Coach said. You get to Nelsonville. No, so Nelsonville and Benton County don't play this week. It's next week. Okay, so we just got an update on that. So Nelsonville's River Valley.
Nelsonville's River Valley.
So Benton County's River Valley at home.
Benton County's at River
Okay.
Valley at home.
Max Premp's got it wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my bad. And then Nelsonville, who's Nelsonville got?
They got to have out.
So that'd be Alex.
It'll probably be at Nelsonville because
The
Can't
Benton
play
County
at
game is at Nelsonville. Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Well, let's just pick them all then. Benton County, River Valley.
Benton County.
Benton County.
Yeah, I got to go Vikings. Whole ball coach.
Yeah.
Have them ready to go. Nelsonville, Alex.
Nelsonville.
Nelsonville.
Got to be Nelsonville. As much as I like Jordan Schultz, he can throw it. Nelsonville's just tough, man. Defense is tough. This would be an interesting one. Jackson, Hillsboro.
Jackson.
Yeah, Jackson I tell you, Jackson's impressed a lot of folks because after Jason Winters, not Jason, but Winters left last year, they were trying to figure out what their offense was going to be. And then, of course, Caden Wolford, man, he's come out and he's just lit it up all year long. I think he just committed to Kent State this week, and they just got too many weapons. So I think Jackson's going
Kid's a stud.
win that pretty easily.
He's coming up on Jackson's touchdown record
Yeah.
for the season touchdown record. It's Cade Wolford. So powerful kid. I'll go Jackson.
You got to root for him. I know my boys have worked out with him, and Isaac worked out with him, AB Prep. So he's a good young man. He's just a good hard worker. So it's hard not to root for someone like that.
Absolutely. Good family.
Yep.
Comes from a
Yeah.
Good family.
All right, Meigs, Marietta. Marietta's. What are they? 1-6.
I'm gonna go with Marietta here. Don't know a thing about them, but we'll see.
Listen, Mex.
I know they're down. Marietta's down.
Oh, do we? That's all right.
So I'll go with Megs because Megs is. I mean, I'm surprised at their record this year because Megs has got a pretty proud football program over the years, and I think they're going to finish the season strong. So I want to say Megs is going to win that one.
Ah, man, this is a coin flip for me. Because I know Marietta. I'll go Meigs because Marietta's down. Mike doesn't like that pick. Mike wanted me to go against the grain. I'm going to go Megs. Cleveland, man, as a senior quarterback, he's a talented kid. And I'm like you. I don't think that record really speaks to what they're capable of. So I'll go Megs on that one. Another interesting one, Oak Hill, who's over for the year. They've had to have a couple games canceled because of injuries, but they're playing Lucasville Valley. It's 1-6. Does Oak Hill get the first one?
Word on the street, Oak Hill's going to get that win. That's what I'm hearing.
So is that official? Is that the official pick from Jordan Lackey?
Write that down. Write that down.
Jordan Lackey's got the Oaks. Nate, what do you got?
Listen, I hope the Oaks win, but they have a lot of injuries, and it's going to be tough for them to win. So Valley.
Nate's
Well,
going
they should
Valley.
be held up after being off for a couple weeks. So go Oaks.
I work with several nice folks from Oak Hill.
I do too.
So in the spirit of camaraderie, I'll take the Oaks. I think they get off
Hold
the,
on there, Pete.
Get off
Hold
the
on.
get off the
So
overboard.
You've picked against Wellston multiple times, and you're going to go for Oak Hill because you worked with a couple of folks.
Oh, Coach
Yeah,
Graham,
Coach
give me a
Graham, what do you
stick.
got to say about that? Yeah,
We know
Mark May over here.
Oh, no.
Man.
Now I'm getting the Mark May accusations. All right. And, of course, last.
So that logic didn't fly with
Hey,
me.
moving on. All right. Wellston, Athens. Big one.
Wellston.
Go Rockets.
You got Johnny come back. That's big. You got, of course, Josh. Those two guys on defense is what we need playing against a team that can throw the ball like this. And then I think the big freshman is going to step up and make plays when he needs to. And then I guarantee you this week they've worked on those snap issues, the handoff issues. And,
Timing,
and
all
then
that stuff.
Is Josh back on offense too? Can he?
No,
take a
I
handoff?
don't think they'll run him until that cast
Still got a
comes
club
off.
on.
So, anyway, I think it's a close one. We're going to win this one.
Yeah, we got two ball hawks back on the defensive side with Clarkson and Johnny Scott. You know, both of them is ball hawks. They fly the ball well. You know, they just got to be conscious. They only got one good hand to be able to clinch his tackles. So make sure we
Interceptions,
wrap up
as we've
tight.
seen, are
All
hard.
Make sure we wrap up tight and we make those secure tackles.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that, guys, except I think our line play will be the difference. I think we've done such a good job the last couple games controlling the line of scrimmage. For the most part, we've shored things up on the outside defensively. We do a good job of containing. The only thing that hurt us against Nelsonville was they found that crease where they run off tackle and attack that deep seam. There's some vulnerability there, but I think overall our defense keeps the spread out Bulldogs in check, much like we did Alexander. So I'm going Rockets, baby.
Yeah,
I'm
Athens is a
going
little
Wellston.
more of a finesse team. I think the Rockets are a little more punch in the mouth team. So
Yep.
that might work in our advantage this week. I really think we could really push them around up front.
It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a good
Hey,
game.
I'm really glad to see Matt's kind of going with the home team this time. So good job, Pete.
We did get one game where y'all didn't pick the same, right?
I don't think that's ever going to happen.
I don't think so. I think
Not with
at
this
least
guy.
I've been different from at least one of them.
Yeah.
So Rockets across the board
Yeah.
here. That's
Right.
it for us tonight, guys. Thanks for watching. If you stuck through the whole thing, I'm Matt Petersen. Nathan Molihan, Jordan Lackey. We'll see you on the next one.